Authorities recently discovered what some are calling a ranch of horrors after finding thousands of bone fragments, items of clothing, and alleged underground ovens possibly used to cremate bodies. This discovery has shocked the nation, which has struggled for years with mysterious disappearances. According to government data, more than 124,000 people are missing in Mexico, largely as a result of drug cartel violence, and most cases are never solved. Survivors of this alleged cartel extermination camp have shared that they were lured to the ranch by being told they could earn themselves a visa. Joining me now is author of Seeing a Guide to Mexico's Deadliest Cartel and director at World of Crime, Chris Dalby. Chris, there are so many questions that I have for you here. Just the description alone is enough to put someone at ease, ill at ease. Break this down for us, why this is as horrible as believed.
Look, this is not an unprecedented event in Mexico. Sadly, these death camps do pop up occasionally, with hundreds of bodies believed to have been buried there. The reason that this one is particularly shocking is that over 200 pairs of shoes, IDs, even children's toys were found on this site. This was in a remote part of Mexico, but not too far away from one of the major cities, Guadalajara. It was raided in last October by Mexican authorities who didn't see anything to suggest the scale of murder that was going on there. So you're either talking about staggering incompetence or high-level government corruption that allowed hundreds of people to be taken to this place, killed, murdered, and then and their bodies then burned.
And Chris, I'm just looking at some of the numbers that we were talking about there, and it's just staggering. And I'm sure there are many investigations actively into these cartel organizations. What do you think will come from this specific investigation?
Not much, I have to say. Over a decade now of researching organized crime, we see events like this come up regularly. Massacres that capture global attention, that shock people, that lead the Mexican government to pledge that this time they will be different, that this time they will crack down, and nothing ever changes. Sadly, the Jalisco Cartel New Generation, the CJNG, for who this site belonged, has been linked to the overwhelming majority of cartel violence in the last decade. They have killed tens of thousands of people. And yes, some of their leaders have been arrested, some of their leaders have been killed and extradited. It hasn't made a difference. The money that these cartels can generate, the amount of people that they can recruit or kill at will with almost complete impunity is not going to change, no matter how shocking and gruesome this discovery is.
Well, then, Chris, the obvious question is what can be done about the cartel epidemic, not only in Mexico, but also right here in America?
Look, from my take, there's two things that need to be done. One is much closer cooperation. Right now, the US and Mexico are at loggerheads on security policy, and I understand why from both sides, but that doesn't help. These, there has to be much more data sharing, much more information sharing, much more joint efforts to go after finances as much as going after people. Killing and arresting people is fine. Seizing drugs obviously is highly necessary, but that doesn't choke off what cartels need to survive, which is money. So going after the finances, long-term, multi-year operations to choke the way the cartels are funded and launder money, for me, is the most effective way of doing it.
And Chris, the name of your book, once again, is CJNG, A Guide to Mexico's Deadliest Cartel, and you are the director at World of Crime. Chris, from your expertise, do you think they will be able to tie this ranch directly to any specific people within the cartel?
So absolutely, this ranch belongs to the CJNG, the group that I wrote about in my book, and by far the deadliest cartel in Mexico. It's difficult to tie it to specific people because this is really heartland of Jalisco territory. This was an hour away from Guadalajara in the mountains. There's no other cartel that operates in that area. This is an area where the CJNG can operate, train its people, and kill its victims with complete impunity. So even if you connect it to specific people and you're able to arrest specific people, it's likely that those are going to be low-level or mid-ranking operatives that were at the site, not the people who are actually giving the orders to kill these victims.
And Chris, how comfortable were people talking to you as you gathered information for your book?
So it depends who you're talking to. Of course, if you're talking to the victims, the families of the victims, it's important to note this ranch was raided in October by the police who saw nothing. Then an organization of victims' relatives who are digging all around Mexico, trying to find the remains of their loved ones. They're the ones who found that site.
Thanks so much for watching. Just go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.